Welcome to part 13 of Mark the Day. And let's go talk. Let's go chat with Mark. Let's go talk to Mark. And this is January the 24th, 2025 by man's calendar. And this is Mark 6. Going to kick off at verse 44. And they that did eat of the loaves were about 5,000 men. And immediately he constrained his disciples to get into the ship and to go to the other side before to Bethsaida, while he sent away the people. Now, bear in mind, here go the disciples out there without Jesus to Bethsaida. And Jesus was sending the people away. And when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. And when evening was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land, and he saw them toiling in rowing, for the wind was contrary to them. And about the fourth watch of the night, remember that's 3 to 6 a.m., he came to them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed by them. Now listen, don't you say that the Bible contradicts itself. It is written that by the word of 2 to 3 witnesses, let every word be established. And these brothers did exactly that. They established it by each telling it from their perspective. It is not a contradiction. It is their perspective. And it is the truth. It still lines up. But when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit, and cried out, for they all saw him and were troubled. They was frightened. And immediately he talked with them and said to them, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And he went up to them in the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered. For they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their hearts were hardened. They didn't even think about what he just did, feeding all them people with that little dab of food. Because little is much if the Lord is in it. So often, so often we forget the miracles that the Lord has done for us without any pharmakia, without anything except for just his spirit. So often we forget the times he protected us when we were in accidents. Some Some of y'all been in accidents where you were nearly buried alive, up to your waist, and things, and the Lord preserved you. Some of y'all been in worse accidents than that. And yet the Lord delivered you out. Where is your faith? You could have walked away from all of this stuff without so much as needing any kind of pharmacia, though, if you had chose to. If you had chose to believe that he was going to take care of you through it all, instead of needing to run to a witch doctor to get your pharmacia. But anyway, let's get on back in here to this. This is Mark 6. We'll recap verse 52. For they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their hearts were hardened. Lord Jesus, please don't let our hearts be hardened to you and your truth and what you've done for us. Lord, do not let our hearts be hardened towards you, Jesus, in any way. In Jesus' mighty name. And when they had passed over, they came into the land of Gennesaret and drew to the shore. Gennesaret. I had to sound that out again a little bit better. Maybe that's not perfect, but it's closer. They came to the land of Gennesaret and drew to the shore. And when they were come out of the ship, immediately they knew him. Gennesaret. Jeez, what? It's Gennesaret. And when they had passed over, they came into the land of Gennesaret and drew to the shore. And when they were come out of the ship, immediately they knew him, and ran through the whole region round about, and began to cry about, and began to carry about in beds those that were sick, where they heard he was. And wherever he entered into villages or cities or countries, they laid the sick in the streets and besought him that they might touch, if it were but the border of his garment. And as many as touched him were made whole. As many as just touched him or any part of his clothing. See, no drugs, no pharmacia, no oil even. Just touching him. And we're healed by faith. Just touching him. A woman had tried many physicians, yet she grew worse. And so to Jesus she came. And when the crowd tried to restrain her, she whispered these words through her pain. Touching Jesus is all that really matters. Then your life will never be the same. There is only one way to touch it. You must believe when you call on his name. Yes, you must believe when you call on his name. I was bound when I kneeled at the altar, but they said Jesus could meet every need. When this prisoner finally touched Jesus, he set me free indeed. 'Cause touching Jesus is all that really matters. And then your life will never be the same. And there is only one way to touch him. You must believe when you call on his name. There is only one way to touch him. You must believe when you call on his name. Yes, you must believe when you call on his name. 'Cause touching Jesus is all that really matters. That's the truth. 'Cause in your life will never be the same. And there is only one way to touch him. We must believe when we call on his name. And it is not faith to believe in substances or sciences. Faith is when you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus himself is going to do what you have asked. I'll see you in the next part. And I hope and pray that you meditate upon these things and that you give plenty of prayer and thought to these things. No, I do not give medical advice. I give spiritual. See you in the next part.